Welcome to She Rocks at College Live. This video is going to be a walkthrough of how I plan for the beginning of the semester. So my name is Clarissa. I am the CEO and founder of She Rocks at College. I own an academic life coaching company for college women. I help them to learn how to create an effective study plan, learn how to fit that study plan into their very busy lives and stick to it consistently so that they can earn the grades it is that they want while having study-free weekends. And tonight, I'm basically going to be walking you through the exact process that I take these college women through at the beginning of the semester to set themselves up for success, to have their best semester yet. And so I highly recommend that if you've landed upon this video, that you go grab a piece of paper and a pen so that you can take notes, so that you can go and do this at the beginning of every semester with every single class it is that you have. If you can, I would have your syllabi with you for each of your classes. I would have your planner out because when I do a video, it is very much workshop style. Like I tell you exactly what to do. I tell you why to do it. I give you all of the reasoning behind everything. So it's super in detail. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what a plan is, because I think that when we start a new semester, the thing that goes through most students' minds is, oh, I need to get organized and I need to find a planner and I need to have all these things to create this plan. And, a plan is just a set of decisions that you make about what you're going to do. That's all a plan is. It's literally just decisions that you are making about what you're going to do during the semester. And the way that I base making these decisions, so the way that I decide what I'm going to do to create what it is that I want, is I start by figuring out what it is that I want to achieve, right? I start with setting goals and I start with who it is that I want to become, who it is that I need to become in order to achieve them. So that's the first thing that I do at the beginning of every semester, is I don't worry about what's my plan going to be in terms of studying, what planner should I use, what classes should I don't worry about any of that stuff. I start with me, right? I start with creating a vision for my semester. And one of the things that students get when they work with me is my college productivity kit. And inside of my college productivity kit, I'm actually just going to share my screen with you guys right now. I have an entire worksheet and process that I take college students through. There are questions that help them to create their college vision. And so this is what that sheet looks like. And the students that are part of my program, Educated the Art of Becoming a Good Student, I'm going to be personally walking them through this vision process this coming weekend. And so that is where you're going to start your planning process, okay? You need to figure out at the end of the semester, what do I want to be able to say that I achieved, that I accomplished? What are the goals it is that I want to be able to say that I hit? And then the question that you need to ask yourself after that is, and who do I need to become to achieve them? What's the way that I need to think? How do I need to act and show up that is different than how I showed up last semester? If I want to create a different experience, so I'm talking to those of you who last semester did not go the way that you wanted. You either ended up with lower grades than you desired, or you burnt out because you were studying all of the time, or you had to withdraw from classes, or you had to take a semester off. If that was your experience last semester, and what your desire is, what your goal is for this semester to actually pass all your classes, to have maybe free time one time a week to kind of just chill and do what it is that you want, to not have to withdraw from classes, to see what you're capable of. If those are your goals, instead of jumping quickly to the action, you need to take the time to think about who it is that you're going to need to become. It is going to require you to think differently than you thought last semester. It is going to require you to have a different experience. It's going to require you to act differently, right? So that is where you want to start your plan. And so you want to ask yourself questions like, and I'm going to read from this sheet that I give the students who work with me. Who do I want to be at the end of this semester? Okay, this is different than the grades it is that you want. But like when you think about yourself as a student, what are those I am statements that you want to be able to say? I am someone who figures it out. I'm someone who creates a schedule every single week. I'm someone who sticks to the schedule consistently. I'm someone who goes to tutoring. I'm someone who knows how to turn things around. I'm someone who like doesn't freak out if they get a low grade. Like what's the conversation you want to be able to have about yourself at the end of this semester? I'm someone who ends up on the dean's list. I'm someone who knows what to do with their notes and with their textbooks. Because if you focus on who it is that you are going to become, the things that you want to be able to say about yourself, right? And you notice where you are now and the current thoughts that you have about yourself, the space in between is the gap. The space in between is what's going to take you from who you are now to who it is that you want to be. And the plan that we're going to create is going to take you from here to there. Okay. So we got to start off with that, right? So, on this YouTube channel, I have a video that's all about creating your personal development plan. It's about who it is that you want to become and the things that you have to have in place to become that person. I have put a link to that video down in the description box. It's in the description box. I also on this YouTube channel have a goal setting video that I filmed years ago. But that goal setting video has the exact same questions that are on this sheet that I give to my students, the sheet that I showed you. Okay? So if you want to be walked through the process step by step and you're not inside of my program Educated, you're already becoming a good student, but you want to be, you can either go ahead and enroll right now at sherocksatcollege.com/educated, or you can take yourself through this process by watching the goal setting video that's on this YouTube channel and by watching the creating my personal development plan video. The links for that are in the description box. But this is where you want to start when you're planning for a new semester. The very first thing that you want to say is, what do I want to create at the end of this? What is the goal that I want to hit? Okay. And again, for some of you, that might be a grade goal. For others of you, it might be having a certain amount of days off every single week. For some of you, it might be not to burn out. For others of you, it might be to not withdraw. Like, what is the goal that you have for yourself this semester? Once you've identified that, the next thing that you want to do is you want to ask yourself, great, now that I know what it is that I'm after, now that I know what I'm working towards, who do I need to be? What kind of a person achieves that? Who do I need to become? Right? So I need to become the type of person who believes in themselves. I need to become the type of person who sits down every week and makes decisions about their time. I need to be the type of person who can set boundaries with people. I need to be the type of person who's not afraid to let people down if it means that I have time to study. I need to be the type of person who is willing to go and have conversations with their professor even when they're ashamed or embarrassed about how they're doing in the class. I need to be the type of person who is willing to wake up at 5 a.m. if that is the only time that they have to study. I need to be the type of person who is able to move things around and not make it mean anything about them. I need to be the type of person who doesn't have these perfectionist standards and is able to do B- work and be okay with it and not make it mean anything about them. So start thinking about these types of questions. Like, this is the first step. Okay. Once you've done that, okay, you've created your vision for yourself. You know who it is that you want to be. You know what the goal it is that you have. The next thing that you're going to focus on, and I'm just looking at my notes so that I don't miss anything, is you're actually going to map out your semester. So this is the thing that everybody gets excited about. You guys want to hurry up and buy your planner. You want to hurry up and figure out if you're going to use digital or paper. You want to go ahead and buy all the notebooks and buy all the calendars and buy all the sticky notes and buy all of the highlighters. That is not what makes your semester successful. Making these decisions that I'm walking you through tonight is what's going to make your semester successful. So the next thing that you want to do, once you know who it is that you need to become, you have your college vision, you have your goals, we need to map out your semester. And here's what I mean by that. So this is where you're going to grab all of your syllabi for the semester. And you are going to put in all of your due dates, put in all of your exam dates, put in all of your assignment dates, put in all of the holidays, all of the times that you have off. Okay, and you're just going to create an overview for yourself. You're going to create an overview for yourself of the semester. And so my students get my college productivity kit, and they will initially create this overview for themselves here on paper, and then a lot of them will transfer it over to their actual planner, or they will transfer it over to their Google Cal or their iCal, and they'll put in all of those dates, okay? So what this is going to allow is for you to be able to see at a glance when your busiest times of the semester are. Now, the reason why this is important is because when you know ahead of time when the busiest times of the semester are going to be, so maybe you have midterms happening and you have 7 papers due during that midterm period, or you have 3 exams that are all going to be back to back, you can start planning ahead. You can start making decisions about how you're going to map out your time, break things down, how far in advance you're going to start working on things, where you might need to be able to give yourself a little bit more time. You can start having conversations with the people in your lives. Hey, October is going to be a really busy month for me, and I know that I'm typically the one that always cooks dinner, but during this month, can we have in the budget some pizza money, some more pizza money than we normally have, because I'm going to need some more time for myself to study. I'm going to be a little bit more frazzled. I'm just going to need a lot more mental energy to focus on school versus trying to figure out what we're going to have for dinner, right? So all of this allows you to set yourself up for success. What it also allows you to do is to start thinking about your time. Okay, so once you have this overview of your semester, you're already starting to see where some obstacles might come up, where things might get a little bit tricky, where things might get a little bit crazy and overwhelming, and you can start thinking ahead of time of how you're going to solve for that. Excuse me, my child is in the next room with her dad, and so if you guys can hear that, I apologize, but this is real life. I am a mom who's also running a business, and so you're going to hear her in the background, and she's just doing what 2-year-olds do, which is, I know what I'm doing, and don't tell me to do anything. So back to what it is that I was saying. So you also want to start at this point making decisions about your time. So I highly recommend that if you don't already, that you invest in some sort of a planner, not a paper planner, just any planner that has time slots allocated. So here's what I mean by that. So again, this is the college productivity kit. This is the planner that I give to students who decide to work with me privately or inside of my group coaching program, Educated the Art of Becoming a Good Student. And you want to start going ahead and mapping out what a typical or atypical week is going to look like for you. So this is where you're going to go into either your paper planner every week or Google Calendar or iCalendar, and you're going to plug in everything that is set in stone, okay? So, you're going to go in and you're going to plug in Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 a.m. to 11:50. I have my biology class, and you're going to plug that into your calendar. Every Monday through Friday, I work at my part-time job from 4 to 8 p.m. You're going to plug that into your calendar. Every week, my kid has soccer practice on Wednesday nights from 7 to 10 p.m. Whatever it is, you're going to start mapping that out into your weekly schedule. Again, the reason why we're doing this is so that we can start to see ahead of time how much time we actually have to play with when it comes to studying. The more information you have ahead of time, the more you're able to see the potential problems, obstacles, sticky points. When you're able to see the potential problems, obstacles, sticky points, when you're able to just look at the facts of like, okay, this semester, if this is the way that every week is going to go, realistically, I have about 2 hours Friday through Monday to study outside of lecture time. That's what I have, right? Because I want to make sure that I sleep and I'm working and I'm doing these things and I'm being a mom and all of these. So like, this is the time that I know that I have control over. Like, it's 2 hours Friday through Monday that I can dedicate to studying. When you have this information, you can learn to work with it. Okay, great. If all I have is 2 hours, how am I going to make the most out of those 2 hours, right? And so if I'm looking at this and I've been doing this for a really long time, worked with over 500 plus students, my recommendation would be, okay, well, we're going to want to optimize our lecture time. So we're going to want to like really make sure that during our lecture time, we're doing a lot of the learning, a lot of the understanding, a lot of the retention of the information so that we can use the time outside of lecture to fill in knowledge gaps, etc. Or another way that it might look is like, okay, so I know that I have 2 hours, every day for 4 days, and that's all the time that I have outside of lecture. So I'm going to make sure that I get all of my reading done during these 2 hours for my bio class for that week, and I'm going to use lecture to ask questions, to fill in knowledge gaps, etc. So you're really making the most use. The reason why I'm having you do this is so that you have all of the information that you need to make better decisions about how you're going to help yourself to succeed. A lot of the reasons why we don't end up with the grades it is that we want, or we don't end up with the semester it is that we want, is because we're not thinking ahead. We're not making decisions ahead of time. We are letting life happen to us. We are letting the semester happen to us instead of taking control of it. Instead of realizing that we have the power, and we have always had the power, if we would just take the time to pause long enough to look at what we have to work with and make decisions about it. Does that make sense? Okay. So for those of you who are on here with me live, feel free to interact with me. For those of you that are watching the replay on the YouTube video later, you can always comment in the comments below the video, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. So just to recap, right? Because we're about 20 minutes into this. The very first thing that we have to start with is we have to decide what our goal is, and we have to figure out who it is that it's going to require us to become to achieve that goal. And I have a few videos on this YouTube channel that will help you to ask yourself questions to figure out what your goal should be, and to figure out who you're going to need to become in order to achieve that goal, that it will really map out the vision that you have for yourself for this semester. After you've done that, the next thing that you want to do is you want to just have an overview of how your semester might go. We want to just look at the facts and look at things for how they are. A lot of students, you guys get into the trap of like, oh, it would be easier if I had more time, or if it would be easier if I didn't have to work, or if it would be easier if I had help from my partner, or it would be easier if X, Y, and Z. And you want to argue with reality. When you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. Yes, I know that doesn't make any sense, but it does. When you argue with reality, you always lose, but only 100% of the time. That is a quote by Byron Katie. I think it's so funny. When you argue with reality, you lose every time. Okay, so I don't like to argue with reality. I like to just accept the way that things are. It's like, okay, this is the facts. These are the circumstances. This is the situation that I'm in. How am I going to make it work for me? What am I going to choose to do? How am I going to navigate this? When I tell the story in hindsight of this time in my life, how do I want to be able to tell the story? How do I want to be able to tell the story of how I worked through it, how I overcame, what I did to make my goals happen? That's the way that I like to look at it. So when you plan out your semester and you see things for what they are, okay, October is going to be crazy. How am I going to make it work? How am I going to make sure that I have the time to study? How am I going to make sure that I have the support it is that I need? What are some things that I'm going to have to just be okay with, right? It's like, I'm going to have to just let it be okay that I'm not the mom that cooks every single week, every single day, a fresh meal. I'm going to have to be the mom that's okay with leftovers, and that's okay with frozen meals, and that's okay with eating out, every day for a week during midterms, right? I'm going to have to be the mom that's okay with like leaving, my partner with the kids so that I can go to the library. I'm going to have to make these decisions. I'm going to have to just make it work. When you have all this laid out ahead of time, the same thing goes with your weekly schedule. When you just accept, this is the time that I have. And you don't argue. You don't wish it was different. You just make decisions. Okay, if you want more time, you're going to have to create more time. And creating more time means that you're going to have to let go of some things. It might mean sleep. It might mean hanging out with certain people. It might be doing certain things. Or you can learn how to optimize the time that you do have. You make better decisions. You make smarter decisions about how you're using your time. You recognize what's a waste of time. You recognize things that aren't helping you and serving you, and so you make adjustments. This is how I plan. This is how I ensure that my students are super successful, right? You're noticing Marieli in the chat saying that she uses these sheets and this process at the beginning of every semester, right? Okay. So once your vision is set out, once you know your goals, once you've mapped out your semester, once you've mapped out like what a week might look for you on the worst week, and you've made decisions about what you're going to do, right? You've planned for the obstacles, how you're going to handle those obstacles, what you're going to do in those situations. The next step is what I call dissecting your syllabus. So if you want videos on how to time block and how to map out your semester, again, in the description box of this video, I linked a video that's called Time Blocking for Busy College Students or something like that. And I walk you through the process of how I plan out my week, how I make decisions about my time, how I make decisions about how I'm going to study with the time it is that I have. Okay. So you can watch that video if you want to be walked through it step by step. If you are part of my group coaching program for college women called Educated, the Art of Becoming a Good Student, you're going to be walked through this by me personally this upcoming weekend during our initiation weekend. If you are one of my private students, we do this process together. If you are watching this video right now and you're like, God, please let this woman help me, I want to work with her, you can always sign up for the program over at sherocks.college.com/educated. I give you everything that you need. I answer all of your questions. I help you make these decisions. You don't have to do it alone if you don't want to. And then the beautiful thing is that once you set up the plan, when you work with me, you have me the entire semester, actually the entire time you're in college until you graduate, to help you stay accountable and committed to these goals. And you have me there to help you to work through problems and obstacles as they arise so that you don't get off track, so that you can stay consistent, and so that you can overcome any challenges that do come up, because they will, because life is always going to life. So the next piece is dissecting your syllabus. Okay, so this is where you want to gather up all of your syllabi, and you want to take the time to actually read through the description of the course. You want to take the time to look through the objectives of the course. If you want to be the type of student who always knows what's important, if you want to be the type of student who always knows exactly the types of questions that are going to show up on the exam, if you want to be the type of student who always knows how to prepare for exams, if you want to be the type of student who knows what to do with their notes, who knows what to do with their reading, who knows what to do with the PowerPoints, who knows what to do with the lecture, who knows how to condense and consolidate and make sense of all of that information, you need to be dissecting your syllabus, okay? Yes, the syllabus contains due dates, and it contains information about when your professor wants you to do what, and it contains information about what percentage your exams are, and what percentage participation is, and what percentage homework is, and what percentage quizzes are, and what textbook they want you to buy, and what you're going to be covering in which week. And also, the most important thing that a syllabus will do is tell you how to succeed in the course. It will tell you exactly how to succeed in the course if you know how to use it. And most of us don't know how to use our syllabus because we've never been taught how to use the syllabus. The syllabus is a piece of information that your professor has to hand in to the board of their department so that they can demonstrate basically if a student signs up for this course, this is what I'm going to be teaching them, and this is how I'm going to make sure that at the end of that course they learn this information. Is that not what a test is? So if you actually take the time to look at your syllabus, your professor is telling you, this is what is important. This is how I want you to think about this information. This is what I want you to do with this information. This is how I'm going to test to make sure that you've learned it. I have a video on my YouTube channel that's all about dissecting your syllabus. I also linked that video down below, I believe. And if it's not there right now, it will be there at the end of this video, so you can just come back and click on it. But I teach you how to dissect your syllabus. This is something that I go through in depth with the students who choose to work with me privately, or the students who choose to work with me inside of my program, Educated the Art of Becoming a Good Student. I walk them through their syllabus. I help them to dissect it. And based off of that dissection of the syllabus is how we create their study plan, which is the next step of planning for the semester. So once you've understood, you've broken down your syllabus, you've pulled from it exactly what you're going to be tested on, exactly what you're supposed to know at the end of the class, exactly how your professor wants you to think about the information, the perspective that they want you to use, the questions that they want you to be able to answer and ask yourself, how they want you to be able to demonstrate that you can use the information. Once you know all that juicy stuff that leads to A's and B's, you can now create a really strategic and simple study plan. So when I say strategic, I mean that you're not just haphazardly throwing together a study plan because You watched a YouTube video that said, oh, you should use the Pomodoro method, and you should use mind maps, and you should use Quizlet, and you should use Anki. But everything that you choose to do to study for this class makes sense. It's there for a reason. It has a purpose. It either helps you to learn, understand, or retain the content. The three things that you need to be capable of doing when you sit down to take a test, when you sit down to take a quiz, and even when you sit down to write a paper. You need to be able to demonstrate that you've learned it. You need to be able to demonstrate your understanding of the information, your articulation, your perspective, and you need to be able to do that when you're asked, which is where the retention piece comes in. Like, you want, not only do you want the information in your brain, but when you are asked, you need to be able to know how to bring it out and demonstrate that it's actually in your brain. And so when you're creating a study plan, the things that you do to create your study plan need to help you to do one of those three things, either learn it, understand it, or retain it. And so how you can get really strategic about it is if you know what the professor wants. And that's where that syllabus breakdown comes in, which is why that's so important. Because once you know what the professor wants and you know how they want it and you know exactly what they want, now you can go in and make decisions about what you're going to do to study. This is how you're able to make decisions about whether to go to lecture or not, whether to read the textbook or not, whether to, carve out time to do those supplemental readings or not, whether it makes sense for you to focus on the PowerPoint or not, whether it makes sense for you to do back of the problem questions or not, whether it makes sense for you to go to tutoring or not. Like, this is where you can make all of those decisions. And when you're able to strategically make those decisions, and strategic just means that you know why you're making the decision. It makes sense. I'm choosing to focus on the textbook because I compared the textbook to the PowerPoint and it's all the same information, but the textbook does a better job of explaining the process behind the thinking. And that's what I need to understand how to do based off of what was said in the syllabus. So instead of, taking my notes from the PowerPoint, I'm going to actually do the reading and take my notes from the textbook. This is how you're then able to make decisions about, okay, how am I going to prepare for this test? So I just spent 2 hours reading the textbook, trying to understand this information, making sense of it in my mind, really thinking about it, really making sure that it makes sense in my brain. And what I also know is that the professor is going to ask me to not just regurgitate this information, but I need to be able to answer essay questions around it because the exam is going to be all short essay based. And what I know is that based off of the syllabus, he said that we are going to be given discussion questions in the class. And, those discussion questions are very specific. And so if I do a really good job taking my time answering these discussion questions, there's a good chance that these discussion questions are going to be similar to what we're going to get short essay questions on the exam. So part of my study routine is going to be to practice answering these discussion questions, making sure that I do a good job of writing them, because by me practicing and answering these discussion questions, it's going to be like me practicing for the test. Right? So everything you do has a reason, has a purpose. It's helping you to learn the information deeper, understand the information deeper, practice retaining and retrieving the information. Okay? Does that make sense? So once you've decided on what your study plan is going to be for the class, and if you want some support on how to build out your study plan, I also have a video down below. I think the video is called How to Learn Faster, How to Build Out Your Study Routine, or something like that. Again, it's linked in the description box. Once you've done that, so you know what your goal is, you know who you need to become to achieve that goal, you've mapped out your semester, you've mapped out your week, You know the decisions you're going to have to make around that. You know the obstacles that could potentially come up around that. You've solved for them. You have contingency plans in place. You've broken down the syllabus. You know exactly what's expected of you in the class. Based off of that expectation, you've created a really solid and effective strategic study plan. The last thing to do is to show up for it. The last thing that you have to do is show up for it, which is the hardest part. The planning, the creating the study plan, the breaking down the syllabus, the planning out your week, that's the easy part of it. Once you've made the decision, the hardest part is getting yourself to do what you said that you were going to do when you said that you were going to do it. So what you have to do and think of ahead of time when you're planning out your semester is you need to start doing the work of identifying what your procrastination patterns are. Okay? What makes you procrastinate? Are there themes around your procrastination? Are there patterns around your procrastination? Are there certain things that you procrastinate around more than you do other things? Start noticing what happens the moment before you start procrastinating. Think back to your last semester. Think back on anything that you procrastinated on recently, even if it's like something like going to the gym or washing the dishes. Because the more aware you become of what causes you to procrastinate, the patterns around your procrastination, once you've identified what the pattern is, it becomes really easy to identify what will help you to break that pattern. This is some of the most deepest work I do with college women, and where I spend most of my time with college women, is helping them to identify what causes them to not show up for the plans it is that they have. What deters them? What gets them off track? What makes them not do what they said that they were going to do? What makes them start doubting themselves? What makes them quit? What makes them drop out? What makes them stop showing up for lecture? What makes them stop doing their homework? What makes them stop keeping up with their reading assignments? You have to start thinking about this ahead of time. This has to be part of your plan. A plan is all about the decisions you make about what you're going to do to achieve your goal. And part of that has to be, what could get in the way and what am I going to do about it? So you have to start identifying all of this ahead of time. Ahead of time. I have a video on my YouTube channel here. It's a mindset video. I forget what the actual name is, but I believe I also linked it in the description box, in which I help you through the process of identifying your procrastination patterns, and I give you some tools to help you to break and shift those patterns. Again, all of what I'm talking about here is the work that I do with college women that I've been doing since 2015 was the first time that I ran my program. Back then it was called Rock at College, and then I renamed it to Study School, and I renamed it again, and now it's called Educated: The Art of Becoming a Good Student. So when students work with me privately, one-on-one, or when they work with me inside of my group coaching program, Educated: The Art of Becoming a Good Student, this is everything that we work on. I help them to identify their goals, where they want to be, and the gap that exists between who they are now and who they want to be. Because every student at the beginning of the semester wants to be a good student. Every student wants to earn really good grades and wants to have free time. But not everyone will. Everyone is capable. Everyone has the ability to create that, but not everyone will do it. And the reason why not everyone will is not because they're not smart enough. It's not because they're not worthy enough. It's not because they're not capable enough. It's just the difference between the students who do and will and the students who don't and won't is who they are in the gap. the plan and how they show up for the plan and what they do when the plan doesn't seem to be working as fast as they thought it would or isn't working how they wanted it to. It's how they pivot, it's how they assess, it's how they tweak, it's how they pivot, it's how they keep going. It's what they do when the obstacles show up. You don't just want to spend time learning how to manage your time. You don't just want to spend time learning how to study. You also want to make sure that you're spending the time figuring out who you're gonna be, what you're gonna do, how you're gonna handle, even when shit hits the fan. Even when on that first exam you get an F. Even when it looks like you're not gonna have enough time. Even when things are taking longer than you thought that they would, even when you feel dumb, even when you feel overwhelmed, even when you feel stressed, even when you feel anxious, even when you fall behind. Have you started to think about those things, who you're going to be in those moments? What are you going to do in those moments? This has to be a part of your plan at the beginning of this semester. I have so many videos on this topic on this YouTube channel. I feel like I'm the only person talking about this. And the reason why no one listens to me is because it's not as fun and glamorous as color coding and Pomodoro and mind maps and Cornell notes and what planner to use. And now the new thing is Notion. Everybody's obsessed with Notion. It's like, y'all, those are tools. They're tools. But if you don't know how to use the tool, why you're using the tool, why the tool works and doesn't work, what to do when the tool doesn't work, how to shift, all of that, it doesn't matter. I can hand you a hammer, but if you don't know what to use a hammer for, it's not helpful. I can hand you a hammer, but if you don't know that you don't use a hammer when you're working with a screw, it doesn't matter. The things that will make you successful are not the tools. It's the thinking behind it. It's the reasoning behind it. It's the why behind it. It's the decision making behind it. You have to shift the way that you think about studying. You have to shift the way that you think about managing your time. You have to shift the way that you think about what you're going through. That's where the magic is. That's what makes successful people successful. Everybody wants to know what they did. What's your morning routine? What's your evening routine? How do you plan out your time? But it's not that. It's how they think. They're thinking differently than you are. They're thinking through obstacles differently than you are. They're thinking about the way that they plan their time differently. They're thinking about the way they relate to time differently. They're thinking about the way that they relate to their everything is about the way that they're thinking. It's the mindset. It's the thoughts. And this is a key thing that most students leave out when it comes to planning their semester, right? This is everything that I teach, everything that I personally walk students through in the semester. I help them to think about how they're creating their study plan, why they're doing the things that they're doing, why it makes sense, why those things will lead to the A. They don't just throw things together, they're thinking about it. I'm doing this because I'm not doing that because. When it comes to their time and the way that they're managing their time, the same things apply. I'm moving this here because. I'm doing this here because. Right? And when it comes to sticking to it and the consistency, they're asking themselves questions like, why am I not studying? What's getting in the way? What's making it hard? What do I need here? What would make it easier? How am I thinking about it? What's preventing me? Why is it that every time I have to write a paper, I end up on in the kitchen washing dishes? What's going on in my mind, right? Because everything we do, we're doing it because of how it makes us feel, right? If something feels bad, we tend to avoid it. If it feels good, we tend to want to keep doing it, right? And those emotions are coming from our thinking, how we're relating to whatever it is. This is why the mindset piece is really important. So the way that I plan for the semester is different than how most of you are traditionally taught to think about planning this semester. Most of you just think, oh, I'll just get a planner and put all my due dates in there. And like, I'll figure out if I'm going to use a binder system or if I'm going to use a note-taking system, right? Isn't that how most of you think about planning the semester? But it's so much, like, if you want to plan for success, it requires a different way of thinking. And that thinking process I just walked you through in this video. Now, what I want to tell you is that this weekend, so September 9th, 10, and 11, I'm personally walking students through this process. Like, we're going to do everything together workshop style. We're going to block off time this weekend to go through creating the vision, identifying our goals, knowing why we're picking those goals, knowing what the gap is between us now and us achieving that goal so that we know exactly what it is that we need to work on from here in the end of the semester. I'm walking them through exactly how to build out their effective study plan. I'm walking them through the process of how to actually break down their syllabus and figure out what's important and how they're going to be tested on it and how they need to be thinking about things. I'm going to be helping them to figure out their weekly schedule and figure out the obstacles that might come up and have those contingency plans in place and have solutions to those obstacles ahead of time. I'm also going to be walking them through identifying what prevents them from showing up consistently, what keeps them from sticking to it. And we're going to be helping them to start rewriting and interrupting those patterns now. If you want to be a part of that, there's still time. The doors to the program are still open. You can go to sherocksatcollege.com/educated to enroll. There's details of what that program entails on that page. There's a video, several videos on this YouTube channel explaining what that program is. The program is called Educated, the Art of Becoming a Good Student. It teaches you the 3 things that you need to succeed as a student: learning how to create an effective study plan, learning how to fit that study plan into your weekly schedule, and getting yourself to stick to it. Doing the things that you said that you would do when you said that you would do them. If that's what you're struggling with, if that's what you want to learn how to do, if you want to be personally walked through it, if you want to have accountability the entire time that you're in college, because the way that I've set up this program is you enroll and you make the investment of $1,000 one time, and the entire time that you're in college, all the way until you graduate, no matter how long it takes, you are part of this program. You have accountability and support semester after semester. Semester after semester, you have me in your back pocket to help you to create the study plan, to help you to figure out all your time drama and issues, to help you to work through the issues and the problems and the obstacles and the life that's going to happen in between now and the end of the semester, so that you don't quit, so that you don't fail, so that you don't have to drop out, so that you don't have to change majors because you think you're not smart enough. You don't have to struggle if you don't want to. The program is for the student who is ready and wants my personal support. But I don't gatekeep information. And what I mean by that is I've been making YouTube videos around study skills since 2015. Everything that you want to know, I have freely given on this YouTube channel. The students who choose to work with me is because they don't want to do it alone. They want to be able to ask questions. They want personal help making these decisions and creating the plan. And they understand that time is money and that it's going to take time to learn these skills. They know that the longer it takes them to learn them and get good at them, the longer it's going to take them to see the change, to see the shift, to see the results that they want. And so they shortcut all of that. And they're like, no, I want to work with the expert. I want your help. Teach me. Be here to support me. Help me to figure it out. I don't want to do it by myself. I don't want to waste time doing it by myself. Right? Because they have someone who knows, who can help them to think differently, who's there to support them, right? So if you are interested in that, you can go to sherocksatcollege.com/educated to sign up. You are going to get the entire program for the entire time that you're in college. We have weekly calls every week that you can pop into to have your questions answered, to work through obstacles, to deal with shit hitting the fan, because it will. It always does. Life will always life. Do you know how to handle when life lifes? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. Do you want to know how to handle life when it lifes so that it doesn't take you off track, cause you to fail, cause you to fall behind, right? That's what this program does for you. It's $1,000 US. There is a 6-month payment plan that brings the payments down to $167 a month. There is also a 12-month payment plan that brings the payment down to $100 a month for 12 months. No matter which option you choose, you get immediate access to the program, immediate access to everything, immediate access to me. All you have to do is say yes. All you have to do is allow yourself to be supported. That's it. That's all it's going to take. Right? So, that's the video that I wanted to film for y'all tonight. That is the process. If you want the nitty details, I've linked some videos on this YouTube channel that you can watch and go through the process on your own. If you want someone to walk you through it, to help you to make these decisions, to think differently and more strategically about how you're planning your semester, you can work with me inside of my program and enroll there. The nice thing about that is that once you create the plan, because you're part of the program, you get the support, the accountability, the commitment to help you to actually see it through to the end. sherocksatcollege.com/educated. For those of you who choose to enroll, I will see you on the inside. I cannot wait to walk you through everything this coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's going to change your whole life. It's going to change the way that the semester unfolds. Mickey, I hope that I'm going to be able to see you in there, girl. And the next video that you should watch, if you made it all the way through the end, is you want to go and watch the video on your personal development plan and figuring out what your vision is going to be and where your focus needs to be, right? Like, just go through the videos that I listed underneath here. That's where you want to go next. And if you want my personal support, you know what to do. Bye.